information access is both a great enabler and it also exposes people to great risk. People should have career paths that allow them to build on skills that they care about and then contribute that as knowledge into the broad corpus that is artificial intelligence. Today, India has the ability to consume the best GPUs. Namaskar, my name is Arjun Venkatraman. I am a senior officer for artificial intelligence with the Gates Foundation's India country office. आज मुझे मौका मिला है आप लोगों से कुछ बात करने का इंडिया के AI जर्नी के बारे में. India's fantastic journey on the AI path. आप लोग जानते होंगे एक बड़ा विशाल इवेंट होने जा रहा है. इंडिया AI Impact Summit 2026 is going to happen in New Delhi from February 16th to the 20th of this year. इस इवेंट में पार्टिसिपेट करने वालों के लिए थोड़ा सा जानना ज़रूरी है कि India's journey क्या रही है, what has India's journey been to get to this point, and I'm really glad to have this opportunity to share a little bit about that with you. थोड़ा सा मैं अपने बारे में बताता हूँ. I come from 3 generations of non-profit or development sector or social worker families, and it's been a privilege for us to be able to see how India has applied the latest in innovation for the purpose of public benefit. Over the years, we've had this opportunity to observe this field. And one of the things that we can always see is that India is always ahead of the curve in taking the latest in technological innovation and adapting it for public benefit. So one great example of this is the mobile revolution that happened in the early 2000s. हमने देखा कि मिस्ड कॉल सिस्टम्स का इस्तेमाल पब्लिक सर्विस डिलीवरी में, महिलाओं तक मैटरनिटी और चाइल्ड हेल्थ के बारे में जानकारी पहुंचाने के लिए, किसानों तक उनके क्रॉप्स के बारे में जानकारी, पेस्ट के बारे में जानकारी पहुंचाने के लिए, ये सब यूज केसेस हमने उस समय भी देखे. दैट इंडिया हैड पुट दीज थिंग्स आउट एंड वाज एक्सपेरिमेंटिंग वेरी एक्टिवली विद ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स. Then later, as mobile internet and broadband became common and ubiquitous, the DPI story of India begins around 2009 with Aadhaar getting launched. आज हम इंडिया में वी कैन ऑथेंटिकेट आवरसेल्व्स, हम अपना परिचय दे सकते हैं, अपनी पहचान दे सकते हैं आधार के जरिए. वी हैव द एबिलिटी टू मेक डिजिटल पेमेंट्स व्हिच आर इवन एज स्मॉल एज ₹1 और ₹2 to a large number of people, to the point where आज की डेट में अगर आप ऑटो लेते हैं इंडिया में तो आपको चेंज के बारे में सोचने की आवश्यकता नहीं होती, क्योंकि आपके पास यूपीआई का एक QR कोड वहाँ पे अवेलेबल होता है. ये सारी चीज़ें इंडिया को एक अलग लीडरशिप लेवल देती हैं इन अप्लाइंग दिस इनोवेशन and being able to make sure that it is doing the right thing for the most vulnerable people and the people who need it the most. I think now there are new guidelines that have come in. The Digital India Act lays out some rules pretty clearly on what can be done, what can't be done. India is a little bit ahead of the curve in the sense that we have a digital law. There is the DPDP Act of 2023. The regulations are now available. And now it's going to be a question to see how do people comply with those, what sort of concerns come forward as people start to apply those. But it's very early stage at this point in time. Even the simplest Zoom call where your background is a little blurred is machine learning in operation. There is processing happening to deliver that video in that form. And I think as a parent, I'd like to ensure that my child is learning where they are interacting with a digital system versus with a human, and being aware of how far digital systems determine our behavior in our lives. जब AI का जो modern रूप है, या the current version of AI as the transformer architecture or the large language models, when they were first announced by Google in 2017 through the BERT paper, उसके तुरंत बाद 2018 में India had already gone ahead and launched or announced their national AI policy. नीति आयोग के द्वारा लॉन्च की गई थी. उसमें तभी से फ्रेमिंग रखी गई थी कि AI for all, ensuring that everybody in the country has democratic access to this intelligence, this new technology, this emerging innovation that they can then use in their own best interests. In 2024, the India AI mission was launched by the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, with a 10,300 crore, $1.2 billion outlay. And the intent with this was to stimulate the domestic AI innovation ecosystem, enable Indian innovators, startups, researchers to have access to the best-in-class tools, the best-in-class infrastructure to develop indigenous sovereign AI for India. And this has been a fantastic success in that through the availability of empaneled vendors. India AI has gone ahead and empaneled compute vendors. And today, India has the ability to consume the best GPUs at the cheapest possible rates. I think at this point it's now sub $2 for an hour of say an H100 usage as per the India AI website. And these sort of infrastructural innovations have been made without putting down capital expenditure by the government themselves. They've actually put out the option of people consuming it through a voucher system, which means that Indian investors have invested in the domestic capacity to provide this infrastructure on sovereign Indian soil, which is very commendable. And these sort of innovations and this availability of domestic sovereign infrastructure has made it possible for Indian innovators to come up with foundational AI systems. So folks like Sarvam AI are now being talked about in the news for their ability to meet certain Indian use cases at par or better than some of their big tech counterparts. And a few things are important to note when we think of public service delivery use cases like in health, education, or agriculture. These use cases will typically serve people who may have limited skill. हमारे देश में कई ऐसे लोग हैं जिनको फ़ोन जिन्होंने अभी-अभी यूज़ करना सीखा है या जिनके लिए टाइप करना मुश्किल होता है या स्क्रीन पढ़ना मुश्किल होता है। तो जब आप ऐसे पॉपुलेशंस के लिए यूज़ केसेस बनाते हैं, तो आपको ख़ास ध्यान रखना पड़ता है कि उनकी सेफ्टी, देयर लेवल ऑफ skill is taken into account while designing these systems. And that's something we try to encourage with all of our work streams in these areas. And so this is going to be an important area to make sure that the benefits are equitably distributed. On the technological innovation side, I think India is already taking big leaps. We've made big investments into deep tech research through structures like the Anusandhan National Research Foundation. They have the Maha MedTech and the Maha AI for Science and Engineering missions, which are out in the public domain now. These will essentially allow for Indian researchers to start innovating in frontier scientific research domains. Things like how do you make computing less energy intensive? How do you make it more suitable for our countries which are hot? So this is not just India, but also the global south. We all live in countries which are pretty hot. Running very hot running systems in data centers, probably not the best long-term solutions for us. So we eventually need to find ways of running these things with more energy efficiency. Those sort of research areas are already in progress in India, and India is investing in ensuring that these kind of research tracks get the right amount of support from the government and then get turned into high impact products through things like the research and development initiative that the government of India has recently launched. I think over and above this, what's going to also be important is to ensure that we take into account communities and pull them into the AI development itself. So things like bias or harms, who defines what is a harm or what is a bias? This should ideally be done taking into account the communities जिन लोगों के लिए ये systems काम करते हैं, उनका मत और विचार लेना इसमें बहुत ज़रूरी है. अभी recently हमने एक project किया था सन्मति के नाम से, in which we worked with women from communities that spoke 6 Indian languages with varying amounts of skill. और उन्होंने अपने तरफ से बायस क्या होता है उनकी भाषा में उसको डिफाइन किया और उसके बाद में उसको टेक्स्ट कॉर्पोरा जो कि एआई से जो टेक्स्ट निकलता है कौन सा टेक्स्ट बायस्ड है कौन सा नहीं है in their languages they helped us define that, and that data set is now going to be available for people to build tools on top of which can do automated bias detection which is tuned for Indian context. So I think things like this, and then making sure that people who work in digital work, data work, who support the digital economy and data economy are well treated, have safe work environments. This is going to be essential. As we move into a time when all of us are priced by an hourly rate to get something done in an information economy, fair pricing for time and effort and knowledge is going to be extremely important. People should have career paths that allow them to build on skills that they care about and then contribute that as knowledge into the broad corpus that is artificial intelligence. So when it comes to the sutras of people, planet, and progress, I'll take 3 examples from the Indian AI ecosystem to illustrate how India is thinking about this and what's great about that approach. The India AI mission has supported 12 foundation model builders. I'll just take 3 examples from those. So Bharat Gen at IIT Bombay is building AI for all, in the sense that they're building AI public goods, So they've got vision, a little bit of text generation, some speech recognition as well in Indian languages, built completely from scratch using Indian data. That's their approach. That's available through the AI Coach platform today. Then you have folks like Sarvam who are taking both a commercial as well as a pure public goods approach. So they've got some things which are available to the general public through a platform, but then they're also working on a very commercial play, and that's building on the open source structure, or it's building on synthetic data, and they've now been covered in the news talking about what sort of performance they're showing on Indian specific tasks. This has all been made possible through the kind of support that India has been providing. And longer term, you've things like AI for Bharat, who've done language inclusion from a very long time. It supports, I think, neural machine translation now in something like 35 languages. Bhashini, the India AI's language program, does a phenomenal job of including. So these are the things which I associate with the People Sutra that make cultural inclusion, cultural context possible in AI. And then if you look at the planet, definitely we need to think about what is an appropriate use of energy and what sort of things we want to apply our energy to. Using AI well is both a national as well as a personal responsibility. You are spending a fair amount of energy, effort, while you use AI, and therefore it's important to ensure that what you're using it for is an appropriate purpose. It should not be used for harms, ideally, and it's important to build in this institutional safeguards to ensure this, and that is what structures like the AI Safety Institute that India has announced are intended to support. But India has taken a very interesting approach in that we've not chosen to hard regulate AI in any way. It's a governance approach that allows for self-regulation and for standards adoption, and allowing innovators to continue to innovate while maintaining guardrails for a safe environment. So these are some of the things that are already in there, and this puts India in a good track for progress. We've already started seeing early signs of this with the huge amount of private investment that's come in just over the last year. तो एक बड़ा खतरा लोगों को लगता है कि AI हमारी नौकरी खा जाएगा. एट द एंड ऑफ द डे ये कंसर्न्स तब भी उठे थे जब गाड़ियाँ आई थी. एक टाइम था जब घोड़ा चलाना सबसे बड़ा स्किल माना जाता था, घुड़सवार होना सबसे बड़ी चीज़ थी. टुडे यू डोंट सी दैट एज अ प्राइम रिक्वायरमेंट. इट हैज़ allowed for a different kind of inclusion. I would encourage everybody to think from that point of view कि दुनिया बदल रही है, हमेशा बदलती रही है, हमेशा बदलती रहेगी. हमें अपने स्किल सेट को बना के रखना है. वी हैव टू बिल्ड आवर ओन एबिलिटी टू अडैप्ट एंड लर्न विद द टूल्स दैट वी हैव. जिस समय हम घोड़े से टांगे पर और टांगे से गाड़ी पर गए, कुछ लोगों ने पहले घोड़े से टांगा चलाना सीख लिया, फिर लोगों ने गाड़ी चलाना भी सीख लिया, फिर उन्होंने प्लेन उड़ाना भी सीख लिया, अब स्पेसक्राफ्ट भी उड़ा लेते हैं. सीखने वालों के लिए दरवाजे हमेशा खुले रहेंगे. अगर आप खुद एआई यूज़ कर रहे हैं, तो कब यूज़ कर रहे हैं, उसके बारे में बात करने से संकोच नहीं होना चाहिए कि अच्छा ये मैंने एआई से बनाया है या ये मैंने एआई से लिखा है. इट्स अ टूल दैट यू आर यूजिंग, टॉकिंग अबाउट हाउ यू आर यूजिंग इट, व्हाट डिडंट वर्क, व्हाट वर्कड, sharing with who might also be using it is important. I think here I feel that we have good guardrails in the form of things like the India AI mission. It's an incentivization structure as well as a standardization structure in some way. Uh, the open calls are a good place to start sharing out ideas. At least it goes through one round of public scrutiny, or folks who are appointed by the public in the public interest are going to look at your use case. There is protections built into it for confidentiality, for IP protection. All of those have been taken into account. So sharing in this construct becomes a little risk managed in that sense as well. And it's a great way to get feedback on the ideas that one has. And somebody recently told me that good research always builds on the field rather than just on the individual researchers' interests. And I think that's a good guideline to keep in mind. And as that guideline is kept, structures like India AI, ANRF, these will offer the avenues for researchers, innovators to get their ideas tested and validated from the point of view of whether they serve the public interest or they don't. See, I have always been of the view that that free information access is both a great enabler and it also exposes people to great risk. Using AI well is both a national as well as a personal responsibility. It should not be used for harms, ideally. And what will be important is for all of us to be aware of where AI is in our lives. Making that awareness available to everyone is going to be important. As these systems are getting designed, they should be usable by people with the least amount of friction, but should also come from trusted sources, should include privacy and safety by design as far as possible.